Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about the question: should amateur players receive prize money in professional tournaments? Now, the reason I wanted to debate this is because a friend of mine, a guy called Rene Butler, who's the reigning minor champion for Great Britain, he won that title at the British Chess Championships. However, Rene believes that amateur players should not receive prize money, and all the prize money should go to professional players, because obviously he's been watching some of my blogs, and he's seen my talk about how difficult it is to make a living as a professional player playing in tournaments. However, I do think that the whole concept of what a professional player is, professional chess player is, has changed over time. These days, you can't rely on winnings from you know over the board tournaments or online tournaments, unless you're a very, very top player. That's probably always been the case, but it's more the case now than it ever was. Where I would kind of agree with what he's saying is, let's say you are a 2200 player, right? And you might not necessarily be a professional player. Probably most 2200 players are not professional players. I mean, there's obviously a lot of 2400 or even higher rated players who also aren't professional players either. However, if you're a 2200 player and you're going to be playing in opens, right? And you're probably going to be like almost like an also ran in opens, in the case where most of the time you're not going to win like the main prize, and you're not going to win that much prize money, yet your expenses are still going to be fairly high to play in weekend tournaments. However, if you contrast that with, say, like as somebody who's steadily around about, say, 1930, 1940, 1950, then they're probably going to win a lot of tournaments like challenger tournaments. So therefore, they're going to be making more money out of chess than the 2000 player will, which in my opinion is wrong. So I do agree with him on that respect. I think there should be a sliding scale in terms of how you get rewarded if you're a better player. I mean, we have seen this problem in the past, that players will deliberately try to manipulate their rating to try to get their rating down so they can play in lower rated tournaments. Just to give you some backstory about my weekend Congress career, I think I first played a weekend back in the 1990s, so it would have been early 1990s. So I was born in 1976, and actually probably even before that, I probably played a minor at Charlton House, run by Tyrone Jeffries, and I played a minor Congress. I remember losing a game in the final round. My dad and my sister turned up to watch me play, sort of thing. My younger sister, and it was in some kind of Sicilian, and the guy went bishop b5, and then he exchanged on c6. I didn't really have a clue what I was doing, and I got crushed quite easily. So I didn't really win many minor tournaments. I don't think I ever won a minor tournament, actually. I didn't play in that many minor tournaments. I remember I vaguely have some recollection of playing one in King's Head. I didn't play any junior tournaments either. And then I remember playing a major tournament at the same venue at Charlton, and I actually won that. And I remember one game that stuck out. I was playing against one of the top seeds, and I played white side of a Grunfeld. It was like a d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, cd, knight takes, e4, knight takes c3, bc3, bishop g7, knight f3, c5, rook b1, Grunfeld. And the guy went castles, bishop e2, knight c6, d5, knight e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, queen d2, or something like that. And then I think he went maybe e6, f4, bishop a5. And then I probably had to make a major effort not to go c4 there, allowing bishop c7, sorry, after f4, bishop c7. And I probably had to make a major effort there not to go c4, allowing bishop a5. But I vaguely remember winning that game. That was a game that stuck out in my mind. So I probably would have won some prize money, right? But at the time, it didn't really mean anything to me, because I wasn't like a sad addicted gambler. I was just like, just got on with life, and I was too young to really sort of spend it. But Yeah, so that was, but yeah, obviously now you see a lot of tournaments which are under 2400 tournaments or stars bar tournaments because people want to have a chance to play for a prize. I do think having that incentive to play for prize money is an important part, and people who are playing in chess tournaments are paying prize money. Sorry, they're paying, well, they are paying for the prize money because they're paying entry fees. So I do think that all players of all levels should have the opportunity to play for prize money. But he does make some valid points. I think Rene basically says that it's really the professional players who should be rewarded. I don't know about that. There is this kind of undercurrent of resentment towards professional players as well that I've noticed occasionally from certain people. They're like, not just players, sometimes arbiters. You get the sense that they don't like professional players and think professional players are spoilt. I like to think that I'm not a spoilt person, but I can understand that attitude. That sometimes you can get like above yourself and think that you're special. I'm not a special person at all. I'm lucky in a way to do something where I'm sort of following my passion in life, where it's reasonably creative. But obviously, as I've addressed on this channel and many other sources, that I'm getting to the point now where I feel like it's kind of pointless, right? Unless I'm making serious progress in life, I've got to make serious progress in life. So therefore, getting out, being independent, if that means moving away from chess. I mean, I'll be honest, I've made more money over the last sort of 2 or 3 years from chess than I ever have because of obviously, I've done more like books and courses and stuff like that. So yeah, as far as playing tournaments is concerned, I don't think that any professional players really go in with the attitude of I want to make money from playing tournaments. But obviously we should in a way. And what we have seen over the last few years is there's been a fall off in the number of professional players actually even competing in tournaments. You very rarely see people like Simon Williams or Aaron Summerscale or James Plaskett or even people like David Howell or Luke McShane competing in tournaments in England, even though they're English players, right? Ravi Harir, because there's just no real motivation to do that unless you have something like the British Championships, where there's a decent prize fund. Um, it's much easier, more profitable to sit at home and write courses, write books. I mean, that's a shame in a way. I think one of the issues with professional players and chess tournaments is that there isn't a recognized circuit. So I've just played a tournament. Before that, I played Northumbria. I played Bruges, but there's no real tournament lined up for me after that. So I haven't really got a tournament now until late September, which is only a weekender. Now, if you were a professional golfer or a professional tennis player, you've got your calendar there. You're basically saying, look, you go and play there, you go and play this place, and you're going to make a little bit of money, and then you move on, right? Or your expenses are probably going to be very high over the course of the year, but there is a possible outcome from that. If you play well enough, you're going to get rewarded. However, in chess, there's no such thing. So there's no real like motivation to even work on your chess because there's no actual recognized circuit. There's no obvious tournaments coming up that people can play in. Like there's a European Championships in November. I kind of like to play in, but it's a lot of hassle to get there and a lot of expense. I wouldn't get any conditions to play. So yeah, that is one of the problems, and I do think that there should be more of an effort made to at least put in a proper circuit in this country. I mean, we used to have the Grand Prix. Now there's the British Championships. There's the English Championships, and there's also Hastings. I would sort of make them sort of gold events. I would say, look, here's your calendar. I'd have another tournament, maybe something like Cambridge, and call them gold events. And say there's like a leaderboard for those tournaments. And you could also make another way of kind of almost just provoking some kind of interest or making it more interesting. I feel that our whole English chess scene is so staid and boring. Is you could say make the British Championships a qualifier to play in the Olympiad team, for example. Now, obviously, that could backfire because if somebody had a really like a Stormer and they were lower rated than say Luke McShane or a Gawain Jones or someone, then that could backfire, right? Because then you got someone on board 4 or 5 who's much lower rated. But I just think at the moment it's very staid, it's very boring, and there doesn't seem to be anyone driving it forward. There's Malcolm Payne who's put a lot of effort into chess, but Malcolm is getting older now. There's no one of the obviously going back in the day. You had people like Stuart Rubin, you had people like Ray Keane. Probably forgetting other people. There's also that guy behind the Lloyd's Bank sponsorship. But there doesn't seem to be anyone with that kind of like sort of power and energy now. So obviously you could, as a professional player, do that sort of work yourself. Anyway, those are my thoughts about being an amateur player. What do you think? Do you think that amateur players should just be happy to play chess and not have the opportunity to play for prize money? All that prize money should go to professional players? I personally think absolutely not, but that's just my opinion. Leave your comments down below.